Hey, what up, y'all? I am Lou. Hopefully, y'all doing good today, man. I feel good. I feel fresh. I'm ready to show y'all some stuff. Hey, guys, before we get started, if you could give me a like, give me a follow. Appreciate all the support I've been getting, all the love. Much love from me. And let's get started. So, today we're going to be talking about what are, in Python, a argument variable or a command line argument. And it comes in very handy. I have done it multiple times in some of my videos, and you probably used it if you copied, some of my source code. You're using it, but I think some people may not know exactly how it works or why it works the way it does. So I want to explain to y'all so you have a better understanding of what is a command line argument. How do you use it? How does it function? Because it becomes very powerful and very useful. So let's get started. So I have this test.py file. Again, it's empty, it's blank, so we're going to get started. The first thing we're going to do here is we're going to import in our system package, right? So this comes, it's part of Python by default. So there is no package to install. It is, again, it's part of Python. And you may have seen this. Again, you may probably seen it in some of my videos where I create this variable, and let's say for this example I'm going to call it value1, and then it's called system argv, and then it's index1, right? So we all know, well, maybe you don't know, but in Python, indexes, when you're iterating over, let's say, a list, it always starts on 0, always. So of course the question becomes, well, why is it starting at 1? Well, the reason why it's starting at 1 because 0 is already being utilized by default. So what I'm gonna do, and I'm gonna do this so you could see how one, like index 0, is being utilized. Like, what is the value, right? So let's go ahead and do a print statement. Print argument variable 0, right? So if I were to, let's just print it right quick, right? I'm going to comment this out, and let me go ahead and run this. Python test.py. So let's do this just so there's no confusion. I'm going to call this v0 value, just so we know, what it is. So as you could tell, our first argument variable here happens to be the actual Python file. So by default, and again, I think this may help out. Even if we look here, it tells us a command line argument argv0 is a script path name. Again, this is my script test.py. So the first argument, again, in index 0, which is the first one, always going to be your file name. That's what it is. That's how it works by default. So what happens if we were to add another argument variable here, which would be index 2? So if we were to run this, we'll get an error message back, and it says list index out of range. Now, what happens is anytime we start assigning argument variables beyond the first index, right? So we know the first one, which is 0, is always going to be the file name. And by that I mean when you run your script, it's going to be Python, then the file name, right? So this, well, I guess I can't do it here, but this guy with this first argument is your file name. So we know that, which means, and this is where it becomes very beneficial, right? Very, there's a lot of features you could do with this. Depends on what you're building and how you want to use it. But if I add another argument variable, which I did, and I called it value1, that ultimately going to be some value that I want to add onto it, right? So now my second argument, you know, because again, this is the first one. This is my second argument here. Is going to be, let's call it 44. So if I run, no errors. If I were to print value 1, we'll see it printed 44. Because this value here is my second argument. First argument, which is again index 0. Second argument, which is this guy, index 2. And let's go ahead and add another argument. Value 2, system 2. Alright, so now we have, technically we're passing in, we're calling 3 arguments, which is the first one is going to be the file name, right? The script name, which is in this case test.py. The second one is going to be whatever value we assign. Then of course we have another value. Good example to be, let's say if I create a function, I'm going to call it add. And it's going to be x, y. We're going to return. I'm going to make sure this is converted to a float, x plus float equals y. Again, it's going to return back that value. So let's say if I want to print, and I'm going to call this add function, and I'm going to pass in value 1, value 2, right? Passing in these two values. So now if I'm calling my interpreter Python first argument test.py, right? Argument number 1, which is my 0 index, because again in Python it always starts in 0, keep that in mind. My second argument is going to be let's say 44, and my third argument it's gonna be the number 30. So you know, we could do the math, right? We just do the math. That should be 74. So that's what should get returned back. So if I run this, boom, 74, right? It was able to calculate it. Again, this is just a quick example of just on how arguments work. Now, if you see in my videos, I'm using arguments, and one of my videos relates to SharePoint. And I'm using argument like the folder name, the destination, and where you want the files. I believe it's the video of SharePoint, Python, SharePoint, like downloading files from SharePoint. And the first argument, of course, is the file, the script. So that's by default. The second argument is like the SharePoint folder that you want to look into to be able to download files from. The third argument is the destination folder, like where on your local machine do you want to save it to. But I made those arguments because it makes it more dynamic. Somebody who cloned my project, they could easily right away get started by saying I'm gonna clone it, and literally I could just run it as is. I'm gonna run it as is. I'm gonna provide my own variables, right? I'm gonna provide my own whatever these values happen to be, provide your own variables. And then that would know which folder to SharePoint to access, where to save it to, all of that, without even having to change the code. It's more so just running it as is, but we're passing in these arguments that we know are variable. They change. They could be whatever we want them to be, and then we'll get different results based off of that. But again, these arguments are very powerful. They have use cases for them. It just depends on what your use case is. But I wanted to show y'all so y'all understand. Hopefully I explained it in a way where it makes sense, because I am using it on some of my projects, but I don't think I explained it in my projects either on how they even work or why I'm even doing it that way. So hopefully this makes sense. Again, guys, give me a follow, give me a like if you can. I appreciate all the support, all the love I've been getting. My channel's starting to grow more and more. Again, very thankful for the viewers, for y'all, to be watching my videos, for subscribing to my channel, and so on. And again, appreciate it. I'm going to be doing new things. I'm being more active. There's things that I'm going to be doing where I'm going to be allocating a few hours a week, every week. So if you want some one-on-one time You could schedule, you could look at my calendar, schedule a meeting. We'll do a Zoom meeting. I'll be more than happy to help review any code, review any solution that you're trying to solve, any of that stuff, man. So whatever it is, be more than happy to book some time. Just go look in the calendar, see what's available. And then, yeah, I'll try to do what I can to help you out. Again, appreciate it. Thanks for the love. Thanks for the support. And peace.